So I am here with our very special guest, our first guest, Laurie Owen. And Laurie, I'm going to read your little blurb here because I don't want to muck it up. But Laurie is a manifestation, a mindset, and wellness coach. And she guides women to reclaim their self-worth, feel confident and radiant from within, so they can manifest their abundant life by design. Also, Laurie has a fabulous podcast called Unleash Your Radiance, which I was a guest on Laurie's podcast last week. We had such an amazing conversation. Highly recommend you listen to her podcast. It is so good. Laurie is also on her own sober journey. I'll be asking her a little bit about that. So welcome, Laurie. So excited to have you as my very first guest on the Sober Sisters show.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here as well.
Oh, it's so good to see you. And I would love to know, how did you come to be a coach in the manifestation and wellness mindset world? What got you into that?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story actually, because about 15 years ago, I'd say, give or take, I was going through a bit of a tough time myself. I was struggling with an eating disorder and I was navigating through that. And upon discovering, after some trial and tribulation, I discovered these women who were the amazing examples of what it looks like to live a healthy lifestyle while still being in shape, looking healthy, but treating your body well. And I didn't know, I was eating pretty okay at that time, but I was just struggling more from a, I think, control issue of, I had quit smoking, put on a lot of weight. Things in my life weren't going as I'd wanted at the moment, at that time. So I think I was really dealing with a lot of mindset stuff and control stuff that kind of manifested into an eating disorder from putting on that weight from the quitting smoking. And I just felt really lost, didn't really know what to do because I'd never experienced kind of a weight gain like that in my life before. So I think that's sort of what led to that eating disorder. So as I was kind of navigating that and then found those women, they were so inspiring to me. They were, health and fitness coaches. They were the exact image of, empowerment, living a healthy lifestyle, positivity. And I just needed that so much in my life. And they really helped change that for me. So from that, I was so inspired. I was like, you know what? Because I overcame the eating disorder kind of on my own without the help of professional help. And I was like, more people, like women need this help. Like they need more people out there, like this inspiration. Because I wasn't seeing enough of it out there at the time. And I was really inspired to become a fitness coach myself, personal trainer. So I had started that journey. I was taking a fitness training certification. But unfortunately, at the time, I didn't feel like it was I didn't really feel ethically aligned with it because it was sort of like a few weekends of training. And then they were like, okay, you can go out and train clients now. I didn't feel right about training people at that fitness level with just that minor bit of training. So it was kind of one of those certifications where it was sort of like, let's pump out as many people as we can, put them in the gym and sell, sell, sell. And that really did not feel good for me. So I didn't do anything further with that at the time, kind of fell into the corporate world, and that vision sort of fell to the wayside. Never forgotten, but fell to the wayside. And then last summer, I was at the gym working out, and I've always been really into health and wellness. It's just been a big passion of mine, manifestation as well. And last summer, I call it, got hit on the head by a cosmic 2x4 so hard. This download just came in like hot, like really hot. And I was working out, and just this like voice was like, you love this, like you love working out. Why are you not doing this? You need to go get certified.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already been doing my own business. I've been virtual assistant, retreat planning, working with spiritual business coaches in the manifestation world, things like that, to plan their retreats. Coaching has always been kind of something I've been interested in, but I'll admit I wasn't fully confident to be a coach. I didn't know if it was something I was able to do. And I was like, okay, you know what? That I trust when that voice comes in that loud, it's kind of like, okay, let's go with it. So yeah, I took the leap, got certified as a wellness coach, and last September. And then a few months after, a coach I'd worked with previously launched a manifestation coaching certification. And I've always been a huge lover of manifestation. I've used it in my life for many, many years, manifested some pretty incredible experiences and opportunities. And when I saw that again, that intuitive pull was just so strong. And it was quite a scary investment because I had just done some investing in myself. With the other wellness coaching, I was like, you know what? That voice is there, just go with it. So, and I'm so grateful I did. It was such an incredible program, and it really deepened my knowledge and of the whole manifestation process as well, that I can really bring that experience to the clients that I work with now.
Wow. When you
Yeah.
said you got like hit with this massive download, it just sent this shiver down my spine. And I was like, to have that like that inspiration come through, that voice come through, and you just act on it. It's like, wow, how powerful that must have been.
Yeah, it really was. Like, it doesn't happen all the time when we get those powerful downloads. But I think when we do, it's kind of like the universe is like, I've been trying to signal to you that it's time, but it's like how loud can we make it for you? Yeah.
And it sounds like you've been getting those whispers anyway. You've been working as a VA, did you say, with other spiritual business owners. And I guess that's really similar to my part of my journey. I was a VA as well. I was working with spiritual entrepreneurs, and I remember thinking, oh, I just really want to do coaching, but not feeling like confident enough to do it. And I love that you just did, and you invested in yourself, and it feels scary, but you did. It's so exciting.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't realize you were a virtual assistant as well.
I
It's like such a
was.
great starting point in the entrepreneurship world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think for me that happened where I thought I just want to work for myself. I don't want to be working for someone else anymore. I didn't,
Hmm.
you mentioned you were in corporate. So was that for you? Like you just wanted to get out of that and just start your own business? Did you have a desire that you wanted to like
Yeah.
work for yourself?
Yeah, that's always been there. I've always desired to work for myself, but I feel like I got so pulled away from that because of society's expectations, things our families are telling us that, it's what you're taught to believe is the right way to do it. You go to school, you get the job, right? So I thought that was what was needed in order to be successful. So that was kind of, yeah, the first step. I moved to Toronto. So I grew up just about an hour outside of Toronto, and yeah, I moved to the city. I got a job I was working as a receptionist to start at an advertising company, slowly moved into account coordinating, and then fell into the event planning world. So I really loved event planning in so many ways. And, I had incredible job opportunities. I've had some that didn't feel aligned, but the whole time something always felt off, like something didn't feel right. And I couldn't quite pinpoint it. And at that point, I hadn't really traveled that much to be honest, I didn't really travel that much until I was about 30 years old. I'd always moved away from home, like to go to school. I'd always moved to other parts of Canada or that, but I never really traveled. And it was my last job I had in Toronto at the age of 30. I was in this working for this big, well-known consulting company, and I was really striving to get this full-time events position because I was doing a hybrid role between receptionist and events. And there was such a need for them to be having that extra support of full-time events manager. And that was just like this vision I had. And it was meant to happen from what I thought, but it got taken away because another girl that was on our team, she moved over into an EA role. So because she left our receptionist team, I was told, okay, we're taking away events from you for now. You need to be a full-time receptionist because we need that support on the desk. And that just crushed me. Like it literally crushed me, because the only reason I was doing the reception role at the time was because I wanted to get that full-time events. And then I was also told we weren't getting any raises that year either. And cost of living in Toronto is similar to London. So it was just defeat after defeat feeling. And I think I just reached my limit because I was really burnt out from that role. It required a lot of late nights, early mornings. So I'd had days sometimes where I was working 11, 12 hours a day for a few days in a row, and just burnt out. And that was leading me to doing some unhealthy activities, such as going a lot deeper into the wine and escaping, because I was just going to work, going through the motions, and I was pretty much living for the weekends. I was trying to be like, what is the point in all of this? What is the point of feeling like you're striving for a career? It's getting taken away. I feel like I'm not barely making enough finance wise to covering my rent and wanting to enjoy a life in the city. And yeah, I think I was just hitting like a bit of a rock bottom point until when I got that news about not getting the further events position. I think I like it just hit me, but I'm so grateful for that moment because it literally put the fire under my butt. I think that I needed to take action. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to Australia. So I was at the last age where I could get the visa before the working holiday visa. And I was like, I'm going to go be a backpacker. I'm 30. I'm single. I don't have kids. I've got nothing to lose. And so, yeah, I just said, I'm going to go experience travel, backpack. And so I went, I went into work, gave them a 3-month notice, which I did not need to, but I just felt so proud to. I was like, you're not giving me the role. Well, I quit and I'm moving to another country.
Yeah,
But I felt like that was really the first time that I truly was living for myself and not what I felt like I should be doing or other people's expectations. And it just felt so good. And I just felt this like ease in my body. And that year in Australia was probably the best year of my life still to this day. And I really think that moment because it was the catalyst to really start into that lifestyle that I was so deeply craving. And that was freedom, that was travel, that was just experiencing and living abroad. And I didn't know that was always something that I needed so much. So now like travel and freedom are like two of my biggest values. And I really live my life in alignment with that now.
that. What did you like? I'm really curious about that year in Australia. What did you learn about yourself?
What did I learn about myself? Just how much I really wanted that sense of freedom and adventure. And because it'd been so long since I'd had that, if ever really, to the point where I wasn't feeling like I had to be doing something. So that was, I think before going for sure, I definitely realized that like I could actually save a lot more money than I thought I was able to do. And I showed myself that I could, you know, I refrained from going out as much. I lessened my alcohol intake for a while because I was like, okay, I need to not be going out, not partying. I need to be saving. So I really showed that I was like, okay, I'm feeling a lot more confident in doing things that I want to do and not feeling guilty like I should be doing something else. That was something I struggled with for a long time. And I'd say when I was in Australia, I definitely learned a lot more about the lifestyle that I wanted to be living. And it's interesting because everything I was desiring manifested in Australia. I was looking for a relationship. I met my partner at the time, and we went on this incredible road trip around Australia for 2 months. And that was something I would always want to do, was like go road tripping with a partner. I was craving like a community, and I was living in a place where there was like a big group of people. So we all connected. I met incredible friends, and I was looking for a job that allowed travel and like a much higher salary. And I got this while I was doing this incredible contract events planning role at the time, where I was traveling around Australia, getting to go to different cities, and I was making like more money than I ever had before in that like a role like that, and I had more responsibility. And it was just everything was kind of flowing together. It was really, really incredible.
That sounds amazing. And so then
Yeah.
what happened after that? How did that lead on to like where you are now?
Well, I say that, yeah, that was like the stepping stone. So that was going back about 7 years ago now. And then I returned, I did it about 7 months in New Zealand. And after that, I moved back to Toronto for a year. And that, after having that experience abroad, it was so clear to me that no, like you need to be living abroad. You need that travel lifestyle, because that changed me so much, that 18 months, that when I went back to the life I was living before, I just felt so restricted, so stuck. And I was like, but I had clarity on, okay, I need to get out of here in a sense. And I wanted to go back to Australia, wasn't able to just for visa requirements. So that's why I moved to the UK. And because it was a lot easier for me to get a visa to move to the UK, where I had a lot more ability to travel Europe. And that was sort of that stepping stone. So it was all kind of leading up to each other. And I started a travel blog when I was in Australia. That's kind of where it started. And I was like, well, this is great. I'm going to start a travel blog and be traveling around Europe. I was doing a bit of YouTube vlogs as well. So I think I was hoping to, at the time, yeah, I was hoping to turn that into a business, like be a travel blogger. And like, that's what I would do. Didn't go as planned in that way. And then COVID hit, and I lost my events job. That was, events were one of the first things to go. And because I was only on a contract, I wasn't applicable for getting furlough like a lot of other people. So I was pretty in a tight situation. So I was trying to figure out what to do. And I thought, you know what, I've always wanted to start a business. Like, what have I got to lose? There's nothing to lose. So I purchased a course on how to start an online business around branding, graphic design, and virtual assistants. And I had no idea what I was going to be doing. I was like, I know I've got admin skills. I can do a bit of social media, and I do event planning. So I just started a virtual assistant business, didn't really know what I was doing, but it started going pretty well. I was getting clients and I was doing virtual event planning. I remember one fun event, it was like some woman's husband's 40th birthday. So we planned this incredible birthday party for him with like a magician and a DJ. So I was doing lots of fun, different things. And it was going well enough that come 6 months into it, when things were clearing up with COVID, I was actually able to leave London, and I decided to try out the digital nomad living for the first time, because I was thinking, why am I going to stay in London, one of the like most expensive cities, when I've got this freedom to be traveling? So
Oh,
um,
exciting.
yeah. So I took off to Tenerife, where I currently am right now, actually, and spent the summer there for 2 months and did a little bit of dabbling around. Went to Canada to visit family, visited Portugal, and I was working remotely the whole time. And it was like, that was a moment where I was like, I've literally manifested the lifestyle I'd been craving for so long, which was amazing.
Wow, Laurie, this is
Yeah.
so inspiring. This is so inspiring. And so do
Aw.
you kind of travel around and just how do you, like, you stay in properties, or like how do you just, do you just rent them out?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of it's a whole different world, isn't it? So I do a few different ways. I like to call myself a hybrid digital nomad now. We're a hybrid nomad because I do need to be in the UK 6 months of the year for my visa. I'm almost qualifying for indefinite leave to remain next year, which is exciting. Um, but what I do now is I do a lot of house and pet sitting, actually. So there's a website called Trusted House and Pet Sitters,
Mhm.
which is a perfect balance because the owners get to leave their animals at home and the pet sitters get a place to stay, get time with animals, and you get to travel as well. Win-win. So you get free accommodation in that sense.
Sounds
So yeah,
sounds
I do a
amazing.
lot of that. Yeah.
And then I just want to circle back to the part where, I remember you were saying you were over drinking a lot in your
Hmm.
corporate job, and it was, is that where the problem started with the alcohol piece? I'd love to hear like more about that, and then how you really got sober, and what sober living is like for you now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think growing up, I was sort of always exposed to drinking. Like my family had always been, alcohol was always present in my family. It was just kind of the norm. Um, and, I grew up with school around friends drinking, and it was just always, I didn't realize it was something out of the ordinary to be drinking at that level. So going to parties, drinking on the weekends was something that had just always been a part of my life. And it was never to the point though where it was out of control. I would say it was heavy drinking, college, university, all of that. Um, in Australia, there was definitely a lot of drinking. That was like backpacking style, a lot of partying then. Um, but I think before I had left, because I was going through such a rough time, I think because I was so unhappy, that's where I really started noticing that the drinking was starting to increase. So instead of it being like, okay, I'm going out with some girlfriends, during the week having a few glasses of wine, and then on the weekend would be when I'd have more, but it was then it started during the week alone at home, because I was just feeling so unhappy that I just wanted to distract myself, escape. So I would, and I didn't really notice that it was becoming more and more, but yeah, I would be picking up a bottle of wine, sitting at home in the evenings, and just hanging out home, sitting in the backyard, having a glass of wine or talking on the phone. And it seemed harmless to me at the time. I was just like, well, this is kind of, I've seen other people in my life or family be doing that as well. So I just thought it was kind of normal to have a few glasses of wine every night. But it was getting to the point where it was getting a bit out of control. And then on the weekends, I was having to the point where I was getting too drunk. And I remember I had a friend say to me once that she was worried about me. And that was quite an eye opener. I think I was in denial about where it was going with it.
Mhm.
Um, so I definitely after that reined it in quite a bit. And I think because when I was in Australia, the drinking, I wouldn't say it was drinking because I was sad then. It was more we were drinking because we were having fun. So it was a different relationship with it then. But it wasn't, yeah, I think that's sort of when I noticed it was getting worse and worse. And I definitely, I'd say I reined it back in quite a lot over the past few years. But I still was always finding myself in places with friends, meeting people who drinking was just the thing everyone was doing. It was just it's the weekend, let's go out, especially in the UK, right? Moving to the UK, that's a huge thing. The pub life culture, the jobs I were in, we're always like, let's go to the pub. And that's how you meet people and socialize. So, and one of the houses I was living in when I first moved to London, it was quite, again, a lot of heavy drinking going on. And it just got to a point where I was like, I don't want this in my life anymore. Like, I don't want to be living like this. I wasn't feeling great. I wasn't feeling good. And I was just starting to notice that this is not who I want to be. So it's been about a year now for I'd say it's a sober, curious journey. It was last year when, after a few really big drinking events, like I had family visiting, I had some friends visiting, that it was my birthday, and it was just a lot all at once. And I was like, okay, enough is enough. And I think it was my third night of barely sleeping properly in a row. And I just felt so on edge. That anxious sleep was there, when you wake up and couldn't get back to sleep at night. And I just had this moment where I was like, that's it, it's enough. So I decided to do dry July. And I didn't have a whole lot of expectations from it. I just was thinking, because the thought of like not having alcohol ever again really scared me. I wasn't ready for that. I was thinking, who would I be? Would I be boring? Like, I've just never known my life to be without wine, like throughout my adulthood. So it was part of like an identity in a way. Friends knew me as like, oh, like Lori loves going for wine. Like, let's go for wine. It was just and like, when I got together with family, it was like, oh, let's have wine and catch up. And so there's a lot of good memories with it as well. So that was a bit of a difficult thing to navigate, I think. So I did the dry July, and yeah, that went really well. And I think after that, I had maybe a few nights where I was going out having drinks in August. And again, I was like, I don't like this anymore. So then I did 2 months in September, and it was sort of like a few months, and then I'd have maybe a couple of drinks. And it just, every time, my body was like rejecting it more and more. And as I was going through this, I was deepening my spirituality a lot more as well, because you're probably familiar with this, and I'm sure some people are as well. When you do decide to go the route of navigating going alcohol free, reading all the books, and you're not having the alcohol, you start to realize there's a lot of emotions and old memories and things that are suppressed that we need to work through. So what I like to call the dark night of the soul. I definitely was going through a lot of that. I was doing a lot of deep inner healing, inner child work. And yeah, I was just really seeing how much alcohol had suppressed and hidden things for me that I did not know were there, that needed to be worked through, which I'm so grateful for now, because it was such a gift. And I've learned that alcohol in me, when it comes to trying to moderate, it doesn't work very well. I can do it for a little bit, but the next thing you know, it's kind of like that wine bottle is just empty there. And you're like, oh, that happened again. So, yeah. And I really don't like the way it makes me feel. I love the version of me that I've discovered through not drinking. And it's still difficult sometimes. I still do get temptations, for sure. I think it's been about, how long has it been now? It's been a few months now that I've like actually been like, no, I think I'm going to go all in on not drinking, because I'm still navigating what that was looking like for me. I still don't know fully. I don't know if I'm ever going to say I'm never drinking again. Like, I'd love to be at a point one day where I can have just a glass of wine or two and not think anything more of it. Will that be me? I'm not sure. But for right now, I know being completely alcohol free is feeling really good for me.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Just keeping it in the short term.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think
exactly.
if I think about no alcohol forever and ever and ever again, it just feels like, well, I don't intend to drink ever again, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to do all I can, because I think I don't know if you agree, but just I think the how can I put this into words? Just how life is now, knowing what we know, um,
Yes.
is, I think you just have to do it to understand the feeling and the gold and the gifts that's all wrapped up in that, and compare that to, the drinking and all of that misalignment and what that brought. Just comparing the two, I just think, well, there is no comparison.
No, there's not. You're so right. And like, I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me that really makes me not even want to entertain alcohol in my life is my mindset has improved so much. The way I view myself, my self-worth, my confidence, because I noticed as well, I was really using alcohol as a which so many of us do, but as a way to relax, as a way to unwind. Something would go wrong. I was triggered. I'd be like, oh, I've had a bad day. I'm gonna have a glass of wine, and or if I was upset, I would turn to wine. Where I didn't know how to, although I was still practicing like wellness, I was still doing meditation and yoga and all those things, but I didn't realize I wasn't properly healthfully managing my emotions and dealing with them in that way. So I had to sort of relearn how to do that and sit with those uncomfortable emotions and not shut them off. Where sometimes, even as a wellness coach, like sometimes meditation can only do so much, where that voice is still going, or you just feel like you just want to like shut the brain down, just relax. And that's what alcohol would do for me. But I always know I would feel absolutely horrible the next day. The anxiety would kick in again. And because I haven't had it for so long, or go through times where I don't have it for so long, when I do have a little bit, I really notice how much it affects my mood, how I'm feeling. And it also impacts the way you manifest as well, in that sense, because it's really cutting off your connection to source a lot more. You're feeling disconnected, you're feeling low energy vibe, right? It really lowers your energy state.
Yes, I would love to hear more about that, because I love, spirituality, manifesting. I love all of that. And for me, just I think you're the same, just aiming to live that really conscious, intentional
Yes.
lifestyle, where we are in our elevated mindset and just making really great choices. It takes work though, doesn't it?
It
And I'd
does.
love to know, like, how do you navigate that? Are there any things that you love to practice that are like your anchors? I mean, I just want to talk about all of that, your relationship to the energy that you feel within. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say like I never used to really like beer when I was drinking alcohol, but I do like non-alcoholic beer now, which is really interesting. So I always try to have like a few of those in the fridge, or like soda water with lemon or lime, which I really like. Being in, for instance, it's Tenerife. I'm in Tenerife right now. It's sunny, it's hot. That's when I find I really do crave like a glass of wine or something like that. So having that option available is really nice, just to have something other than a water, for instance. So I do feel like that helps me sit and relax if I'm watching the sunset, or just at the end of the night. Like that feels like a really nice little ritual. But definitely when those temptations do come up, I find I just really think about the version of my higher self. And like I picture her there, like almost standing in front of me and just like smiling, be like, you don't want to do that. Like,
oh,
think about
I
who
love
you're
that.
gonna, yeah, like it always makes me a bit teary, because it's like I just feel like you just build up so much. You feel so proud of yourself for not doing it. Like each day you don't do it, it builds up the proudness. And I've been there where I have had a night and then I feel absolute crap the next day, and you beat yourself up, and you feel a bit low self-worth, and the guilt and the shame kicks in, and it's no one likes feeling that way. And I just know you might feel good for that 20 seconds in the moment while that wine gives you that little bit of a high, but if you're feeling stressed or anything like that, what is it really going to do for you? Maybe for an hour or two you might feel like it's doing the trick. um but you have a couple glasses of wine, you're going to have the headache, the hangover the next day. It's going to lower your mood, your vibration. You're not going to feel good. And then that guilt's going to set in. So I always think about that. I really think about that. And I think about, what can I do to help, navigate any stress that I'm going to. So I use breathing exercises. It's really great. Journaling is my absolute favorite. I love doing emotional freedom technique tapping, EFT. That's been a huge one. And dancing, absolute love dancing. If I'm feeling stressed or like sticky energy in the body, I'll put on, I know we talked about this when you were on the
We did.
podcast, but I'll put on some like shamanic, like drumming sounds, or like African drum beats, just something that makes you feel kind of wild inside, where you can just like let loose and just
Yeah.
dance. And it feels so, so, so good. And that just really elevates my energy so much.
Yeah, so with you on that. Oh,
Yeah.
so I would love to know, who do you love to work with? Who do you really help? Who's your most favorite type of person to work with?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love to work with the women who know that they're meant for more. Like they have this feeling that they're stuck, they know they're meant for more, but they're committed to learning what that is. They're committed to uncovering what that is, whether they're struggling with mindset, self-worth, they're looking to manifest a life that they desire. They're kind of like fed up with where they're at and they want to make a change. I love working with the women who are committed to going all in, and they know that the work is not going to be easy. They're not looking for a quick fix. They're ready to be like, hey, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do this work. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but what's on the other side is so worth it. That's the type of client that I love to work with.
Mm, I love
Yeah.
that. Because I remember when I stopped drinking, one
Mm.
of the things that I really struggled with was not knowing who I was, but I knew that there was something in me that was meant for more. So I had
Yeah.
that kind of burning desire. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I think after years and years of just numbing and squashing feelings down, ever since I was 5, and that's for me started with emotional eating, binge eating, sugar,
Yeah.
all of that, and then just years and years and years of stuffing, numbing, not wanting to feel anything. Really, when I stopped drinking, I was like, well, who the hell am I? And um, I think you do some work, don't you, around the identity, leaving that old
Yes.
identity, working into the new identity. And is that something that you help people with, doing that, finding out who they are and helping them to get towards?
Yeah. Absolutely. We do a lot of work around like embodiment and identity work around who it is, like uncovering who it is they are, like through mindset and shadow work as well, and values and getting clarity around the vision, but also like who is the version of you that you want to be or become, right? It's not taking away from the essence of who you are. It's more like stepping into your higher version of yourself, the version of you who you know you've always been meant to be. It's tapping into that because so many of us are programmed to only, to a certain level of success, or so many limitations around that we see, and our external reality is a direct reflection of what we believe is possible for us, right? So it's almost like having those blinders on, but when you can open up to that world of what's actually possible, and that's the beauty of coaching, because sometimes we don't see it, and it's just having a coach reflect back to you and show you the magic that's within inside of you, that things that you're capable of. It's like it really helps to empower that person to take action. So I love working with the women who are self led in the sense, right? They're motivated, they're committed to doing it, but it's like you're there to help them with that guidance. They're not relying on you to fix them necessarily because they're not broken, but it's just helping them to really see their full potential and give them the motivation and power and confidence to step into that.
Mm. And I know that you've been working with a coach, maybe several coaches, I don't know, but
Yeah.
what's your experience of being coached? Do you think it's important that people choose to invest in coaching and for their health and their wellness journeys and transitioning into this new identity?
Absolutely. I haven't worked with therapists too much, I'll be honest. So I can't really, I think both are equally like so important in different ways. But there's different kinds of coaching, and I think all of them have their importance depending on the individual's needs. So I think it's really important, if you are going to work with a coach, make sure that you resonate with the coach. It's someone that you feel like you could be friends with, and like you really get on with, someone that is going to be have gone along a similar journey that you, and that you really admire the lifestyle and their values that they have. That's like definitely something that I look for when I'm working with a coach. And I have worked with quite a few different coaches over the years, from like doing business coaching to I worked with a gene keys coach. So it was all around like human design, gene keys, self-mastery more or less, which was incredible because there was so much I didn't realize about myself to uncover. And I used to struggle with a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot. I grew up with a narcissistic stepfather in my life for many, many years. So that came with a lot of low confidence, low self worth, not feeling good enough. And he had a major drinking problem as well. So I always viewed success and money, for instance, as bad. I didn't want it because he was a very successful financial wise man, but he was very, what's the word? He used money in a very negative way. So I saw that as success. That equaled negativity. So I had to do a lot of mindset work around limiting beliefs and things, in what I felt worthy of having and what I wanted in my life because of those limiting beliefs. So working with a coach really helped me to reframe that and uncover that. And I don't know if you've ever heard of rapid transformational therapy, RTT.
No, I don't think I have.
No, it's so powerful. So Marissa Peer is a woman who created it.
Oh,
And
I've heard of her.
yeah, yeah. So it's designed to pretty much uncover or help, work through things that like years of therapy can sometimes do, because it works so much with the subconscious mind. So it's a bit of like neuroplasticity work, subconscious reprogramming, hypnosis. And I worked with a woman on a session like that. And it was like incredibly transformative. So yeah, I think coaching is just so incredible that it can really have such an incredible impact on people's lives.
Yes, absolutely. I so agree with you. So how do you help people? Do you have a Facebook group? Do you have programs? How do you work?
Yeah, so I do a few different things. My main offerings are I do a 3-month coaching program called Radiant You, and it's all about my approach when it comes to working with women is I like to focus on the inside first and elevating what I call the inner radiance, getting women to be in touch with their inner radiance. So that's working on their well-being from a holistic point. That's working on the mindset, the confidence, the self-worth, getting them to a place of and the embodiment, feeling so good about themselves, in love with the life that they already have, even if it's not where they want to be. It's like looking for those moments of joy and appreciating what you already have. So then you can start to create that life by design from that place. Because if we're manifesting from a place of low self-worth, of not feeling good enough, then we're only going to get those results emulated to us, right? So it's all about building up first to create that external reality and attract that towards you. So that's the 3-month coaching program. And then I also do a group coaching program that we just almost finishing up our first round actually, which is so exciting, called Elevation. And it's sort of a shorter version of that 3-month process. So it's guiding women all around getting clarity on their desires. Then it's all around taking aligned action. We dive into manifestation. We talk about embodiment and energetics as well. So they can really step into their most elevated self, as I like to call it. So it's all around mindset and clearing resistance and limiting beliefs, doing some inner child work. And I also do, 90-minute sessions as well on any of those topics and mindset, wellness, manifestation. And I have a podcast, which you were the guest on, Unleash Your Radiance. So that's another place that people can find me where I provide a lot of value on manifestation, mindset, lifestyle, well-being, entrepreneurship as well, which of course a topic I love to talk about. And I'm starting to get a lot more as well into the feminine leadership and like feminine leading your life from like the feminine energy as well.
All of
Mm.
this just feels so deliciously yummy because I love all of this too. I
I
really
know.
do. And oh yeah, it's just so lovely to really connect with you and just have this conversation. I think it's so needed, and your work is so important and so needed. And I really do think as well, women who choose to stop drinking and just expand their life
Mm.
can feel so lost and so like, where am I going? What am I doing? Like, who am I? And I love that you also touched on the gene keys and the energetics part. And I'm assuming you know all about human design.
I'm not an expert in it by any means, but I do know my own human design and I know a little bit about how that operates, but I'm not super familiar with like all the other ones in depth, but it is human design is fascinating. I'd love to learn more about it. I think I've just been so focused on learning. I'm like a sponge and suffer a little bit from shiny object syndrome, which I'm
Me
trying to rein
too.
in.
Me too. Your work sounds amazing. So where is the best place for people to find you who want to come and connect with you, come and work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am at lorena.christine on Instagram. So that's LORINA.Christine. Or you can find my podcast, which is Unleash Your Radiance on Spotify, Apple. I believe it's all places you can listen to podcasts. And those are the places I mainly hang out. And then my website is wonderlushcollective.com.
Fabulous. And I will put all of the links under this video so people can connect with you. And is there anything else that you would love to add or to leave people with something to think about or a little tip?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, if people are navigating this journey of exploring sobriety or sober curiosity, whatever their lifestyle they're looking to navigate with alcohol, is like, just keep going because utilize your group, Catholic, utilize your group because I found that when I was going through my journey because I felt alone. I didn't know who to talk to. I felt like I was alienated a bit. And it was just really amazing to find a group of supportive people out there who are all going through something like that as well. And to know that it's like there's so much beauty on the other side, like keep going with it. Because I think it wasn't until 2 months in that I really started, like the first 30 days, yes, it's incredible. You experience a lot of shifts for sure. But I think the longer you go, the more shifts you start to experience and the more juicy things get. Like you start feeling more joyous. Like happier. I know we spoke about this on the podcast, but like just feeling happy and you're like, why am I happy? It's like you just feel much happier. Like that joy comes back and you start to really see the beauty in life and things get easier in terms of, oh my gosh, going to that first party without drinking or going to that wedding, whatever it is, like things get easier. I navigated my very first holiday with a group of friends from Australia that I'd met who we used to all be big drinkers together. And I navigated my first trip being the only person not drinking on it. And it was so scary at first. I had a lot of resistance, but it was fine. It was like nowhere near as bad as I thought. So that's my advice. Keep going and keep working on yourself because anything you desire is absolutely possible. Anything you desire is possible.
Mm, I love that. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Laurie. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, you as well, Kath. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so glad that like we crossed paths and met. It's been
Yes,
so nice getting to know
me
you
too.
as well.
Me too. And thank you for sharing. And no doubt we'll be chatting again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care.